all of the Beatles, the Pope. Did I say Michael Jordan? I've just been rattling names off. Michael
Which
Jordan,
one? Which one?
Michael B. Jordan.
1-2. Swinging a drive toward right center. Back goes Robert. Back near the stands. That ball is gone. A game-winning home run for Chris Morel. Can you believe it? Listen to this crowd.
Welcome back to the Brotherly Cubs podcast. I'm John, and that's my brother Zach. We are your brothers who love everything Cubs baseball. If you enjoy talking about the Cubs, then hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and join us every week as we dive into the power, the speed, and the best team in the National League. We'd like to start off each podcast with a playful question for all 63 of our subscribers. Feel free to put your answer in the comments. Today, Zach, I ask you, the Cubs bullpen feels like it's cursed. Can you name someone who can save them?
Yeah, so the wrong answer's only version of this question is someone like Mother Teresa, the man himself, Jesus Christ, Elvis, all of the Beatles, the Pope. Did I say Michael Jordan? I've just been rattling names off. Michael
Which
Jordan,
one? Which one?
Michael B. Jordan, then also the degenerate gambler from North Carolina, who was a Hall of Fame superstar from Chicago, Wayne Gretzky. We need all the help we can get to save the bullpen.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, I was gonna go with Carlos Marmol,
That's a
whatever the
really good
hell,
answer.
whatever the hell he's doing
The
lately.
guy
Who
stressed
knows?
me out, and I was watching game day. Like, I'm not even watching the game. I'm just looking at the results, and I'm like, oh my God. Nice
Yeah, it
throwback
just
there.
yeah. Rod Beck. I mean, I used to love watching Rod Beck and his wavy hair and flopping in the wind. But yeah, it's a great question. I mean, thinking about it seriously, you kind of wonder, who do they have? Who else do they have? Like who else would be sitting in AAA Iowa just waiting to be called up just to close the game? Not a whole lot of guys, right? You're not going to probably
Well,
call on
I'm
a
glad I'm glad you mentioned him. His name is Hayden Wesneski.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Yeah, he stepped right in today, right? I mean,
That he did, yes. I mean, that would have been a comical little thing like a day or two ago, and all of a sudden now it's a real thing.
yeah. Let's move on to the latest news. We had Jamison Taillon scheduled to return, I believe, tomorrow against the Marlins, Miami Marlins. Patrick Wisdom has rehabbed with Iowa. He's ready to return, or he's pretty close to return. Um, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. Seiya Suzuki has a moderate oblique strain and will miss at least a month, which is not as bad as it was last year. I believe it was what, 6 weeks.
Mhm.
So the Cubs recalled. They also recalled Alexander Canario from Iowa to replace him on the roster, and he will promptly sit on the bench. Hopefully be used. Not like he, more so used this year than he was last year. I mean, hopefully. But yeah, we can also talk more about that in a bit. Luke Little and Daniel Palencia were sent down to Iowa yesterday. It was pretty bad for them and might have sealed their fate. The Cubs recalled in response to that. The Cubs recalled Colton Brewer, adding him to the 40-man roster, and Hayden Wesneski. We're obviously very familiar with him. We referenced him earlier. He threw 4 innings in relief against the Diamondbacks. Absolutely stellar. 1 hit, 0 runs, I think, right?
Yeah.
Terrific. The game was on and I had no idea. I just was gonna go on the Cubs or the MLB app and I don't know, I think check stats from yesterday and I saw that they were already playing
hmm
and I had no idea that they were starting that early. I was like, oh, okay. I was on my prep period for teaching, which is basically like a kind of like a free period to make copies and stuff like that. And
hmm
um, so I put on the audio of that and because I couldn't really watch it a whole lot, but yeah, it was interesting to see him come in, and he really was kind of painting the corners. He was really locating really well. I didn't see a whole lot of his appearance. But what are your thoughts today? We'll go back on a few of these notes here, bullet points. But first, let's start with the most recent thing here, Zach. So what were your thoughts on Wesneski? Did you get a chance to see any of that game?
So a little bit, the man of the moment, Hayden Wesneski, he was just recalled. I think what happened. So I wanted to rationalize what happened because I was watching the Iowa Cubs game uh, today, like the early, noon game, and they were referencing that Wesneski and Brewer were called up, and I'm like, to play later today. Just shocking news. I heard that in the middle of, Alex Cohen basically, I don't want to say he broke that news, but of course Megan Montemurro of Chicago Tribune broke the news. But it was like shocking. I was like, what is going on? He mentions Little and Palencia getting called, getting sent down. Palencia, the writing, was on the wall for him. He did not pitch well. But Wisniewski, he got called up. He was due to pitch. As of recording, we're recording on a Wednesday, so he was due to pitch, on a Thursday. He was ready, stretched out, ready to pitch. So he was going to pitch between 4 and 6 innings. So he was ready in terms of length, and the bullpen really sorely needed a contributor. And you can see that although Wicks pitched very well or kept us in the game, unlike Kyle Hendricks or really all of the Cubs pitchers right now, besides Hendricks, are keeping them in the game. Wicks
Right.
last time out had 4 innings and like 4 runs. This time he ran into, trouble with really just Ketel Marte. And
He was hitting the cover off the ball right now.
yeah, I'm glad for us to be out of Arizona and back in Chicago here because I think they'll do well. But he faced still a difficult lineup, and he could have kept going. He only had 73 pitches, but Council really liked that Wisniewski was going to face a ton of righties. They overloaded their lineup with righties and only had Corbin Carroll in as the sole lefty. No Jock Peterson, at least until the end of the game. When he promptly homered off of, Drew Smiley. But Wisniewski can eat up righties very well. And so it's not incredibly surprising that he did well against a bunch of righties. I would love to see him do this against a mixed handedness lineup, right? Lefties and righties. I don't think they'll do that yet, but I like the idea of having Wisniewski pitch against a pocket of righties, as they've started to say,
Right.
more than 2 or 3 in a row, because the minimum you can come in for is you have to pitch to 3. So there's 3 righties in a row. It makes sense to let him throw that sweeper. But I thought he did really well. He didn't get a ton of strikeouts, but like you said, I saw some of it, and he's got a good fastball too. It's something we forget about, but he throws 95, 96. He's got like a sinker. I think he commands his sinking fastball in on the righties a lot better than Yency Almonte. It's a similar type profile where it's a pitch that can eat up a righty. And I'd like to see him use that more, but he does command his fastball. That's something the Cubs need to do a lot better with in their bullpen, is commanding the strike zone. And it really helped to have a guy who could command the strike zone, even if he gets hit sometimes. I mean, they took a 5-2 lead. He kept going. That was really useful because Drew Smiley, will be probably down for tomorrow's game, as he, I think, pitched in 2 or 3 games in a row. But besides Wisniewski, the rest of the bullpen got the day off. That has tremendous value. I know Hector Neris was warming up. That would have been difficult to get him in the game again. They got a big reset here for this 4-game series, so I think he really saved the bullpen.
It's a good point. I mean, they traveled to Wrigley. I would imagine they're on their way to Wrigley right now, obviously. They're not hanging around grabbing some dinner in Phoenix, but
Yeah, Phoenix is, I don't know.
getting the hell out of Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just it'll be a welcome series. They don't have a day off, unfortunately. Mondays and Thursdays are typically days off, so it's right back at it, right back for some home cooking. But yeah, Phoenix, Arizona. Arizona's just a scrappy bunch, man. They take a
Mhm.
lot of pitches. It seemed like from the at bats that I was watching, I'm like, God damn, you're
They
like
don't strike out. It's
wing at
so
something. Yeah.
frustrating. They don't
Christian
strike out.
Walker is very patient. I mean,
Yeah,
Carroll is just insane. His
he's a superstar. Yeah.
Corbin Carroll, his plate discipline is it's just like swing at something, man. Come on. Like
This
it
is a
seems like,
team.
yeah,
I was gonna say this is a team. This Diamondbacks team is gonna be very scary. You mentioned the offense. That's a really good attribute of a good offense is to not strike out and
mhm,
draw some walks. They're missing. We missed Zach Gallen here just due to the
yeah,
luck, and we faced Merrill Kelly. We didn't get to see Eduardo Rodriguez because he's still recovering from an injury, and Jordan Montgomery is still getting ramped up, and he'll be making his season debut this week, I think on
mhm.
Friday potentially.
Yeah, we missed
So
out.
we missed out on a couple really good lefties and
Yeah,
their ace. So we got lucky here. I mean, that could
yeah,
have been a really difficult series, even more
yeah. The
difficult than
flip
this one.
side of right. The flip side of that is, it's kind of the universe balancing out with I mentioned to you the average fastball that we faced
Hmm.
is 95, which is number one. We faced the fastest pitchers, it seems like, in all of baseball. I know we were ranked right up there at number one, so we're
Wow.
due, like um so yeah, but yeah, it was good. I mean, we took the series. I was going to be happy to just take one because I knew the Diamondbacks were they're a great team. So to actually take the series, I was happy with that. And we almost could have swept them too, right? Like we could have taken two in Texas and then but Adbear of course blew the save.
And
And
we could have won the Padres series too. And yes,
uh,
could have swept the Diamondbacks. It would have been a 7-2 road trip. For the audience that is aware, we did recap this, but the Padres 8-0 blown lead. Uh, and then the Diamondbacks, the middle game of the series, facing Henry, I think is his name, the
yeah,
lefty for the Diamondbacks. And yeah, we had an 11-8 lead. The Cubs were down 8-5, put up a six spot, and gave up a run almost every single inning until the end of the game, 7 through 10. It went to extra innings, tied at 11 and lost 11-12. So another blown lead, unfortunately, for the bullpen. But the good news is they're 11-7 despite missing Steele and Taillon.
yeah,
Now they're missing Seiya Suzuki and and
yeah.
uh and Julian Merryweather and Patrick Wisdom. Not
Mm.
that they needed Wisdom, but
I think it
uh
helps.
I'm missing somebody, right?
Yeah.
Other than just the offense has been ice
Um,
cold. We can talk about that later, but the
yeah,
offense, some of the offense, I will say, they need to step up.
yeah, for sure. Um, I think I was seeing something along the line that we have like a bottom 10 in our starting pitching. We're in the bottom 10 in our offense, but yet we're 11-7. Someone had tweeted that out,
Defense,
and our
defense and bullpen, I think is the
defense and both. Okay, yeah, because I was
yeah.
there's like I'm like, how
Well,
are we bottom 10 in offense? Because it's like we've been
no,
putting up some numbers, but
our starting pitching has actually been pretty solid. Aside, if you were to just literally remove Kyle Hendricks,
yeah,
Ben Brown's addition to this staff and just in general having him on this team has
yeah,
been really welcome. I mean, even though he's a two
yeah,
pitch guy, he's pitched really well. So he carved
yeah,
up that Diamondbacks lineup the other day. I mean,
yeah,
pitched really well against them.
yeah. Ben Brown was kind of tossed around as far as an idea of a possible idea from CHGO as a closer. It's like we're so desperate right now to find a closer that we're looking for arms that I think he misses bats, right? Ben Brown misses bats, but I think I think Ben Brown would just be not used in the right role, and he's extremely young to be able to come in as the closer, and it's just a different mentality, as they were noting in their podcast or their latest podcast, and so
Yeah,
the bullpen's just it's just going through it.
they
I
need
think,
to, yeah, they need to figure it out. I think they need to deleverage some of these guys, possibly move Mark Leiter Jr. into the closer role temporarily.
yeah, they talked
Or
about that too.
it was a weird one today. I mean, Drew Smiley got the save. Uh, And I did mention this before, but Hector Neris should slot in as the closer, but he has lost some control too.
Yeah.
And uh, I mean, if you look at the notes we made earlier, the news bulletins, Palencia did get sent down. I think he's going to stay down.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
I think it's possible Wesneski actually gets sent down since he's going to be down for 2 to 3 days.
Mm,
Sent down for Taillon, and then he could obviously make his way back up.
yeah.
But I do think Luke Little will be back at some point pretty quickly because they need another high leverage lefty in the bullpen.
Right.
Maybe it's for Keegan Thompson. I don't know. He's pitched well. I think one of the problems is too, they sent down Quas and brought up Keegan Thompson.
Hmm.
But if you look at these, some of these guys have been struggling, like Alzolay, Neris, Almonte. Uh, they already sent down Quas, but those other three guys don't have options. So you have to put them on the injured list if you want them to take time off and sort of work on their stuff. So, and Hendricks is in a similar boat. If you look at like the 3 or 4 worst performers in the bullpen and Kyle Hendricks, they're all sort of in the same exact position. They're not doing well and they need to be like deleveraged or have their work cut down until they can figure out their mechanics. I don't think Alzolay is missing mechanics. I think he just is struggling against lefties, and they do need to figure that out pretty quickly. Against righties,
Yeah.
he's still pretty good. I mean, he got the first 2 outs, and it's the homers against lefty, the slug. Even if he were to walk, even if he were to walk every lefty, uh, that
The
might be more
hanging
successful for
sliders,
him.
like
Yeah,
just hanging a bunch of, I think it was like, I don't know, 30, his sliders are just not down. And I think, JD was mentioning that in the booth.
Mhm.
Throw some balls. Like you don't have to throw strikes all the time,
Yes, yeah, that's exactly
Um,
right.
it's just he needs to learn how to pitch, not I don't want to say pitch around, but just kind of don't give them something to hit every time up, so
Yeah, he does not need to pitch to contact. That does not make sense. I mean, if you can get a weak ground out, by all means, but throwing strikes and getting through the inning is not going to work when it's a one-run game. You've got to pitch like they will hit a home run because they have now twice. That is concerning that it's both times against lefties. Maybe that's something to look into. They can dig. Tommy Hotovy needs. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little disappointed with Tommy Hotovy at this point. I know it's early in the season, but
hmm
uh, some of these trends have just the Kyle Hendricks thing. I don't know what to do about that, but
yeah,
all of these relievers struggling at the same time. Almonte has a really nasty sweeper, but he cannot locate his sinker. It's moving so much arm side that it's not even eating up the righties. They can't swing at it because it's going to hit the knob of their bat.
yeah.
Uh, and Jose
His
Cuas has had, he had command issues. Palenci's had command issues. Neris did. They're all struggling with command right now. They need to
yeah,
get a little bit better command so they're not behind in the count. They're not walking guys and letting these guys get free passes.
yeah, it's ridiculous. Just a ton of walks. I mean, Almonte's flying open. I don't know what the hell that means, but it's like when
Yeah,
you're throwing and you're flying open. From what I can see, flying open it's tailing away arm side, and is that his two seam or is his
his two
fast?
seam. Yeah,
His two
his
seam is just like way off, and then you got to make competitive pitches and at least don't give him a free ball. I mean, it's you just can't be missing by that much.
yeah.
Valencia was just a mess. I'm like, man, he has done nothing to change my perception of him. Just no control. And like he said, I think he's gonna stay down for a while until he figures out his control. He has gas, like he can throw gas, just cannot control it to
And
save his life.
he has a splitter that he added too. So if he can get better control, even take a notch or two off his fastball,
Yeah,
that splitter is pretty good, and I'd love to see him use that more. Uh, I think he'll stay down for a little while and regain his command. And like I said earlier, Luke Little will probably come back up pretty quickly. They were just down so many guys due to back-to-back extra inning games. So, the Monday and Tuesday games, 11 innings and 10 innings. And you combine those with short outings from your starters, you start to eat into, you know, like 11 or 12 innings out of your bullpen in 2 days.
It's
So that's pretty unsustainable, and they had to
yeah.
make a move. But I just don't get the Colton Brewer addition to the 40-man roster.
Yeah, he
I know there
was.
was. I was going
Go
to
ahead.
say there was some discussion about Sam McWilliams and how he had a really good fastball,
Hmm.
even though the numbers weren't good. I know a lot of the non-roster invitees at Iowa have actually pitched fairly well. Thomas Pannone has pitched well. I think the same is for Brewer and McWilliams, but I'm a little surprised, I will say. And CJ Edwards actually pitched a 2 inning save today. I forgot how many strikeouts. I know at one point he gave up a hit and struck out 3 of the 4 batters he faced. So he looks really good. I think they were just waiting for his command to sort of lock in. And when you get, 3 or 4 strikeouts in 2 innings, it's like, yeah, he's back. So I wish they would have brought up CJ Edwards, because if they want to put CJ on the roster, that's another 40-man decision they have to make. And there's no one on the 60-day injured list unless I don't know. So maybe they can sneak Colton Brewer through waivers and have him come back to Iowa and outright him. Sometimes they do that. I've seen
Hmm.
that done through the transactions. That's the only thing I could think of. But CJ Edwards is going to be a really good piece to this bullpen, especially as they're waiting for Merryweather to get back, right? Like,
Right.
and guys to get their command. I mean, it's, I don't know.
It's
I'm
got to.
almost at a loss for words sometimes with this, the way they've managed this team.
Yeah. It's scary, right? Like, I mean, if the starters don't go 7 innings, maybe more than that, like 7 innings already as it is a pretty big ask. But I mean, um, I don't know. I'm starting to lose faith in like I don't know who to trust anymore, except for maybe what like Leiter.
Yeah.
Like I obviously don't trust Alzolay. I mean, he's blown half the save opportunities,
Yeah.
so I think he's 3 for 6 now. I was
He's
just,
had 6 opportunities already.
yeah.
Wow, that is a
I
lot for 1 month.
I know. I was looking at the stats on the TV, and I think he said 3 out of 5.
Oh,
And I was like, damn, if he blows this game, it's going to be 50%. And lo and behold, he blew the game. And so it was just like, man, that's terrible. So,
wow.
not a whole lot of trust in that bullpen. And, a lot of people are mentioning this on their podcast as well. CHGO mentioned it. Not a lot of teams are going to be just willing to trade their relievers, high leverage relievers at that, as far as like, we're what, midway through April. It's April 17th. Like the
Yeah,
season period
way
is
too
way too
early.
early. Yeah. So I mean, they're gonna have to find a way to weather the storm. And as JMO's coming back, Jamison Taillon, Steele's maybe, at least what, 2 or 3 weeks away.
Yeah.
So Zach, I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that? On Taillon coming back tomorrow and maybe Patrick Wisdom replacing someone like Mastrobuoni who GIDP'd again? It's like,
So yeah, Taillon I'm excited for because of the move of, I'm guessing, Ben Brown to the bullpen. That will be really huge.
mhm.
Uh, he's got what it takes to be in the bullpen, I think. And then in terms of Patrick Wisdom coming back, I know he was I think he doubled and walked or something today for Iowa, and then he was replaced for like a pinch runner replaced him. I'm checking to see, who it was. I think it was Jake Slaughter, and throughout his rehab, Wisdom has been playing the full game at whatever position he's at. So I think that is signaling a move is coming.
Yeah.
So I think he'll come up and Mastrobuoni will go down. I think that's going to be a good move. Obviously, they can use a fresh bat in that lineup as a lot of people are struggling. I have some notes here, and I wanted to bring up the point of this podcast that uh, Garrett Cooper is playing really well, but he's only had 23 at bats. A lot of the other Cubs players have had closer to like 50 to 70 in that range. Seiya is one of the best performers, but he's injured. 3 homers, 13 RBIs, and 893 OPS. And would be remiss to not mention Michael Busch, who had 5 games in a row in which he hit a home run.
Yeah,
So
terrific.
Busch is leading the team in home runs, needless to say, with a 1067 OPS. So that guy's on fire, and he got another RBI today. And I've noticed that Bellinger has started to heat up a little bit,
Yeah,
but those three guys, and one of them is injured and one of them is small sample, no one else has an OPS over 800. So as hot as the offense was to start the season, they went pretty ice cold there at the middle to the end of the road trip. And
yeah,
so I'm really hoping that someone else can continue to step up. Like Horner, it looks like he's starting to get his bearings a little bit. We
yeah,
said Bellinger, Morel is in a slump, but I'm hoping they can start to. The difficult thing is, as we say that, they're facing the Marlins, who have really good pitching. So, and it'll be almost all lefties that we face. So they're going to have to play Alexander Canario more, and they're going to have to really have to dig deep. And Luzardo, I think
Puck.
AJ Puck.
Yeah,
I think they have Eduardo. Is it Edward Cabrera or Eduardo Cabrera?
Edward. Yeah,
Edward Cabrera. He's a strikeout pitcher, although he walks a lot of guys. So this is going to be a difficult series, but the Cubs need to get the offense going a little bit. I also want to mention that just to recap the series this last week, as we do like a weekly recap for the Cubs go 5-4 on the road trip, which is a success given the teams. 2-1 in the series against the Mariners. They lost to Bryce Miller 2-4. They won 4-1 facing Hancock, and they won the finale 3-2 against Luis Castillo. So they won some low scoring games there, right? The bullpen actually did well in that series. Against the Diamondbacks, the bullpen obviously did not do as well, but when they won 3-2 facing Merrill Kelly, that went to 11 innings. That was the game where Nico Horner scored from second on a wild pitch and hit the game-winning single. So really good game from him. They lost 11-12 facing against Henry, who they had an 11-8 lead. They lost it. Game went to 10 innings, and then they won today. Recording it's Wednesday night, 5-3 facing against Brandon Fott. The lockdown Cubs were calling him Brandon Fat. I think legitimately
yeah.
thought
I heard that this morning. I was like, oh man.
it's Fott. There's two A's in there. It's
Yeah,
Fott.
just to
Uh,
clarify.
and a couple last notes here. Imanaga is a beast. He has a 0.0 ERA. Leiter also has a 0.0 ERA through 10 innings. And Assad has pitched really well. I'm surprised to see a 2.16 ERA.
Yeah,
That's really good. And then Ben Brown has a 4.41 ERA, although it's much lower since he started actually starting games. I don't have the numbers directly in front of me, but he gave up 6 runs in an inning and 2/3 against the Rangers.
yeah.
And so in his last, 14 innings or so,
Hmm.
he's given up only like a handful of runs, I think like 2 or 3 runs. So he's pitched really well recently. And I'm happy that there's a few bright spots on the pitching side because we need something to be optimistic about. And so, like you said, with Taillon coming back, uh, that will move Hendricks. Well, I guess he's going to make his start against the Marlins, but if he pitches poorly against this terrible, terrible offense that the Marlins have, then I think he's going to go to the bullpen.
Yeah, I agree. Um, it's just something to watch for. I mean, I don't see him pitching for very much longer if this is, how he's gonna be. I mean, he's got to at some point be a little bit better in order to justify having a spot in the rotation. Otherwise, I feel like there's plenty of, options, especially
Yeah.
once we get Steele back. I
Oh
mean, we're
yeah.
definitely gonna have options. So
He's gone when Steele's back, man. Like he's going to be in the bullpen or they're going to bury him in the injured list unless he drastically improves. The writing is on the wall. 2 or 3 weeks here, Steele comes back. The rotation's going to look pretty good, and that the
yeah,
bullpen will then look better because guys will
right.
shift down. Like Brown and Assad, for instance, two guys that will pitch and that will replace. I'm not sure who they'll replace off the top of my head,
Yeah,
but that is good news. Reinforcements are coming. So we
right,
just got to get here and hopefully
like
Taillon doesn't suck as much as he did in the first half because
right.
he was terrible in the first half. He wasn't
Yeah,
Hendricks bad, but He was close.
Just, yeah, it wasn't very solid. Also, like you said, just to kind of sum up real quick, the offense has got to just start clicking again. And thank God, at least Nico's doing his thing now, it seems like, or he had a great game the other day. And so hopefully either Dansby Swanson has to hit or he's just got to move out of that 2 spot. There's
I
just
think
no
so
way
too.
yeah. So
That is a dangerous spot for him.
yes.
But that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us on the Brotherly Cubs podcast. If you have thoughts on today's pod, comment them below. Or if you have another interesting topic, let us know. Hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications, or join the conversation with us on Twitter at Brotherly Cubs. And we are also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I am Zach, and this is my brother John. And we will see you next week as we recap a 4-game set with the Marlins and a 3-game set with the Astros before heading out to the East Coast. Until next time, thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you later.
Peace.
Listen to this crowd.